What is up, guys? I've wanted to kick off this new series for a while, but I kept putting it off, so finally I'm just gonna do it. These what if videos are ideas from me, maybe eventually you guys at some point in the future, that I think might eventually end up in League, or just things that we could put into League that would help solve a problem or make the game so much cooler and more fun. If you end up liking this style of video in this series, then throw it a like. Let me know in the comments, dislike it if you don't, and I do have a ton more of these ideas. If you enjoy it, I'll definitely do more. But let's go ahead and jump in. So being an AD carry main, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about first, I guess. Ability caster ADs are so much more popular, right? Ezreal, Lucian, these guys can stay safe and they can deal with people from range, so they're not very team reliant. Low mobility auto attack ADs kind of get left behind right now. They can't deal with divers as well, and attack moving is the only real way to do that, which is very hard to actually pull off. There are two problems with this. The first one is it just puts people off anyway. It's hard to learn attack move properly, especially at lower ranks, and it takes some time, so you're going to lose a few matches before you're actually able to do it. The second is, why just make it harder for yourself if you can play these others who don't need to attack move? Play a Lucian, it's going to be a much easier game than playing a Caitlyn. So what if we had an anti-gap closer, something that put distance between you and a diver but wasn't just a dash? What if we had a knockback item that works kind of how I'm going to show you on screen now? Obviously this is me trying to recreate it with mechanics we already have, so it'll look a bit weird, but you'll get the idea. Lucian would activate the knockback item now, and both him and Irelia get pushed backwards away from each other. Now I have never played Dota 2, but they have an item called a Hurricane Pike. You can see it on screen now. The stats and stuff don't really matter, but this is an item that when activated knocks both you and your target backwards and lets you attack them without range restrictions for 4 auto attacks or a maximum of 5 seconds. This is something we don't have in League at the moment. In my mind it would work a lot like a Caitlyn net, but the target would also get knocked back as well. Now that does sound a little bit overpowered, right? And probably on a champion kit it would be, but actually as an item I think it could work. This is how I think it would work in a game. Okay, so Caitlyn activates her item and flies backward. Irelia also flies backwards, and then maybe Caitlyn can auto from this range for a few seconds. We already have similar mechanics in the game anyway, like we have the extended range with Caitlyn if they are on traps or hit by a net. That gives us the range component part if we want to use that. We have the Poppy ult for displacement, though this would be a ton smaller obviously, and the dashes for us as well. It's kind of a combination of all of these just in a smaller form. Now firstly, in my mind this would be a big ticket item, 3,600 gold, like the same as an Infinity Edge. It wouldn't have amazing stats, maybe some AD and then maybe like a small amount of life, still kind of like a Mercurial Scimitar. You could even have this as a Zeal item actually as well, but just with less attack speed and crit on it. There is going to be a cost here, okay? We get this item so we can gain distance, but we lose damage that we'd get from buying an Infinity Edge or a Bloodthirster or whatever for a similar cost. This means we do get that knockback, but we're paying a hefty price for it, and ideally we want to not buy it and buy more damage. It's there if we can't attack move or we need to stay safe, but we won't be doing as much damage with it. That is the cost. That is a trade-off. Honestly, I think actually we probably don't even want the extra autos at range, just a knockback or maybe only one auto. I think for sure there are too many people who could just abuse the multiple long range autos. Vayne. Silver bolts. Oh, sorry, I've got a really bad cough today. I don't think the extended range fits into League very much at all, but the knockback for sure could do. Now to me that seems like a really good solution to the problem we have now, and will make League a much more interesting for an AD carry. We have an obvious choice to make, okay? The knockback or the extra damage. That's what we like to see. That's what we actually want in games. We want to have a choice that makes a difference. It's only for one person, so if we dive by 2 people it just wouldn't help us at all, and is basically wasted gold. So there is even counterplay as well. It's same with the knockback even. In a team fight the diver is usually a tank, right? The auto from the range, if we had that, wouldn't even hurt that much, and he's just going to run back into the fight anyway. I don't think this is actually as overpowered as it would seem at first look. There are obvious trade-offs for buying it and obvious weaknesses and counterplay too. So if there are obvious weaknesses and stuff, why even bother putting it into the game, right? Well, the first thing is it just makes the game more fun for an AD carry, and this is a game, it's supposed to be fun, and I've got so many messages this season because it's a little bit harder for AD carries saying I just don't find it fun anymore, and that is a problem. The second one is it makes the game more accessible for lower ranked AD carries, more AD carry diversity, aka the no more 50% Lucian pick rate. Immobile AD carries would be a little bit easier. It wouldn't be as big of a deal if you can't attack move perfectly, and you still feel like you're actually having a big impact in the game. Chances are this item would not be optimal or probably that viable in competitive play, but as a lower ranked AD carry this would make your life a lot easier, and even if you don't win the fight, even if you lose, it makes you feel like you're actually doing something and having an impact. This This in my opinion would be the biggest thing. I just think this item alone would make the Ashe, Jinx, Caitlyn a lot more rewarding to play. There are still obvious ways to shut them down. You can crowd control them before and blow them up, but they have more options now rather than just die or buy a Guardian Angel. The third thing, it adds more counterplay to a Fed Assassin. A mix of defense and offense and another way to deal with them, send them flying backwards. This wouldn't be as good as you think because they're just going to wait for the gap closer cooldown again, but it gives you a little bit of time before they jump on you again. It also means that we don't just have to rely on our flash to stay safe. It's sad, but right now in most team fights, because everyone has a gap closer, we have to flash away to get distance to kite. Now in my opinion, while yes, this is kind of what it's designed for, we shouldn't have to do that every single fight just to stay safe, but we almost always do. Now against a tank, this wouldn't be very effective anyway. You can knock them back for sure, but remember you won't be doing as much damage because it will have less damage on the item as you could be with others, so you won't rip through them as easily. This is more like an answer to a Riven or a Nyrelia or a Jax, I guess. These guys who jump on you and blow you up straight away. This is where the item becomes more useful. This is where like the gold value, I guess, gets some worth out of it, where you don't need as much damage to kill them, but they only need a few seconds to kill you. I actually don't think it's as bad for them as you think either. The AD is not going to hurt as much. They can wait for their gap closers to run back in, or they can just attack someone in the team fight. You've basically done your job as an Irelia anyway. You've run at the AD, you've taken them out of the fight because they ping themselves backwards and they can't do any damage, and you can still damage other people. Or you know, you have the famous like lock them down before they use the active and kill them anyway in a one shot. One of the reasons I think this is so good and I love playing some of the damage classes in Overwatch is because they all have tools to keep themselves safe if they're dived onto. Yes, it is a whole ton easier with your team protecting you, and yes, you probably will die if you're caught anyway, but at least you have a chance. You have some way to outplay and escape. The sniper in Overwatch has a hook to jump away, one has a knockback, one of them has a very short stun, another has a damage reflect. All of these things add at least a little defensive counterplay. This new item would look at AD carries who have been pushed out of the meta a little bit purely because they're harder, because they're immobile, because they need to attack move. It gives them a way to purchase a little bit of safety at the cost of damage. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of this style of video, this series. Should I keep doing it? What you think about this specific idea? I have a ton more ideas, and if you enjoy it, I'll definitely make a long series out of this. Anyway, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share, but for now, let's go to the robots.